I filmed the following YouTube video in December of 2019 for my other YouTube channel that has travel videos. I gotta say, it's pretty weird looking back on it 5 or 6 months later to see the different things that I said. I think I said that Disney was my favorite stock at the time, which is funny now to think back on with everything that's changed. But I posted this there and it never left my thoughts, this topic of personal finance and investing. And so I decided to create this new channel. And this allocation with Vanguard is still something that I very much believe in. I opened it in October of 2017. I saw about a 12% increase in 2019 and about $1,500 in dividends, which I then reinvested into other shares. Whenever my friends and family talk about investing, a lot of them say that they are very nervous to get involved and get in the stock market. So the following information is what I share with them. And I noticed that I was just telling this story so much that I wanted to put it on film, and there might be others that could benefit from it. I think investing is super important. It's very exciting. I've seen a lot of benefits from it in my life, so I want to share that information. As we know, the first few months of 2020 have wreaked havoc on the stock market. It's been up, it's been down, it's been down, it's been down, and up again. So right now this portfolio, I'm looking at about a 5% loss, but I'm not too worried about it. I only lock in that loss if I cash something out right now, which I am not planning to do. In fact, this is a great time to buy more, so I'm not shying away from it just because of the conditions. It still is something that I truly believe in, and I'm continuing to invest in it. This isn't a typical video for my channel, but I wanted to try something a little bit different. Lately, I've really enjoyed watching finance videos on other channels and seeing what people are investing in and looking at the allocations in their portfolios. Whether I agree with their strategy or not, I think the conversation is very important, especially for younger generations that probably experienced the stock market crash. It can be a little intimidating to get involved in investing, but it's truly a fantastic thing. Originally, this type of video made me really uncomfortable. I don't think it's gonna get a lot of views. My bet is probably 43 views. But as I was doing my searches, whether I just pulled up my homepage or actually did a search in YouTube, I realized that all the results being presented to me were done by YouTubers who were men. And there weren't that many women. There were actually 2 when I searched, and that was kind of disappointing. Finance is important no matter what your gender is. I don't know if it's just the algorithm and what YouTube is presenting to me, but I had to change this. So if you want to see a change, be the change. So here I am talking about how I invest my money and the allocation of my portfolio. I thought I would share 3 things in this video. First, I thought I would share what platforms or brokerage firms that I use to invest my money. Second, I thought I would share the allocation of my largest portfolio. And then thirdly, how I learned all this and why I set it up the way I did, so you could look more into it too. Of course, I have a 401k through my employer and also a Roth IRA that I contribute to separately. So when I talk about these investments, I'm looking outside of retirement. It's kind of the more fun stuff anyways. The first brokerage firm that I use is E-Trade. This is how my employer gives me stock. I also participate in my employer's stock purchase program, saving up for a new car, which I'm really excited about. But I don't get to control it. E-Trade is what they use. This is how they give me stock as maybe an annual bonus for performance or anything like that. So this is all housed there. And then I'm also going to break that out into other companies and other stocks down the road when it's beneficial. The second account I have is with Robinhood. This is a little bit of a newer one. It is a little bit sexier stocks, maybe a little bit more trendy. I focus on dividend-paying stocks, and this is pretty small, but it's just kind of when I have some extra spare change. Instead of buying something dumb on Amazon, I can invest my money and hopefully for financial freedom and an early retirement. My favorite stock in my Robinhood portfolio is Disney. I bought it in October, right before they launched their streaming service, and saw a huge return on that. I know it's not going anywhere. They pay a little bit of a dividend, but really I just love the company, and that's the kind of stuff that's in that portfolio. The portfolio that I really wanted to dive into was the one with Vanguard. This one I've been contributing to for a very long time. I started with contributing $30 a paycheck, and I've increased it to maybe about $200 a paycheck. And I just kind of do that over time as I paid off my student loan and my car, had some extra cash. I just started putting more aside. It's direct deposited, I never see it. It's really on autopilot. And then every quarter, I go in and I take the money that I held aside and I put it into the same funds every time. I have a breakdown, so I know what my formula is. I know how much of my money goes where, and it's just really simple. I just do it once every quarter. 30% of my money every quarter goes into index funds. And spoiler alert, this is where most of my money is because it's just really the safest, easiest way to grow your money. Like I said, the whole strategy of this portfolio is stable growth. I want to capture the growth of the stock market. I'm not trying to beat it. I know that's not entirely possible, even for the brilliant minds out there in the world. So I really just want to capture the stock market growth and be safe in all different types of environments. 30% of my money goes into this fund, and these are the assets that I invest in. The Vanguard 500 Index, or VOO, mirrors the S&P 500, which is 500 of the largest companies. These companies consist of Microsoft, Apple, Facebook, Berkshire Hathaway, a lot of companies that will sound very familiar to you. I get dividends from holding this, and they're companies that I know. I'm not exposed to, like I said, any one industry or company, but I get the benefit of all the growth. Also a part of this 30% is the Vanguard Total Market, or VTI. This is similar to the last one, but instead of 500 of the largest companies, it's about 3,600 companies of all sizes. Again, captures just a giant portion of the market. This quarter, I'm also going to be entering into a new fund, which is the Vanguard High Yield, or VYM. And although the other ones do pay me a dividend, this fund focuses on the largest dividend-paying companies, and that's a little bit sexier, I gotta admit. I mean, still stable growth, still huge companies, still part of this index fund, but it's kind of sexy to think about dividends and getting paid for doing nothing. I'm not gonna lie. The next category that I invest in is I have 20% of my money going into REITs. I love real estate. I love rental properties and flipping houses and everything, but it's a lot of work, it's a lot of manpower. So investing in it, I get the benefits of an industry I truly believe in with less of the manpower. There are two funds that I invest in this category. The first is VNQ. This is a collection of real estate investment trusts that purchase hotels, office buildings, and other properties. Now, if this seems a little bit risky to you, maybe you remember 2008 and what happened with real estate, commercial and residential at that time, then maybe that sounds like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. But there is another fund that I invest in, and that is VNQI. This is very similar, but it is only properties outside of the US. So same kind of thing, but again, just diversifying so I don't have such concentration risk in one country. Another 20% of this portfolio is in an international index. Most of the funds here are allocated to two international funds. VXUS and VEU are two funds in this index that I allocate my money to, and it consists of companies that are outside of the US. Some of these are Toyota, Nestle. They're still larger companies we're all familiar with, but they're located outside of the US and really helps me diversify against any kind of risk that happens in this country. I mentioned the high dividend yield ETF with Vanguard originally in the index fund portfolio, but I also have some of it here that I'm going to be entering into for international. So this is similar, VYMI, because it's international. It's all companies outside of the US that pay high dividend yields. 10% of my investments go into emerging markets, or VWO. A lot of these markets are not necessarily covered in the international index or just the general ones, or they're not as concentrated. Brazil, Taiwan, South Africa, countries that are emerging markets, just as it says. Maybe a little bit newer, the bigger companies are located there. But this is really more of the risky side. That's why it's only 10% of my money. But it's also the greatest potential for growth and profit. So I still want to capture that. I still want to have some risk. It's just not the largest part of my portfolio. To balance out some of the risk that I have in emerging markets, 10% of my money goes into VAW materials. So if the market dips, if there is a recession, people might cut back on some of the more luxury items. You might buy less Lululemon, but we'll still need construction materials and packing supplies, steel, paper, fertilizers. These are the types of things that go into this index fund, and that's where I put 10% of my money every quarter. Then on to a little bit more of the boring stuff. I have the remaining 5% of my money put into bonds, BND, BNDW with Vanguard. This really doesn't have a lot of growth, but it is going to protect me in different environments depending on what the markets do. This is something that's just a smaller portion because I still have a long time till retirement or when I would really access this money. As I get closer to that age, I might protect my money and make this a larger allocation, but for right now, it's just 5%. Okay. That was exhausting. That was a lot of stuff. I don't know about you, but I think I earned myself a White Claw. But keeping it classy. Cheers. All right, so at this point, you probably have a lot of thoughts. Mainly, who's this girl? What does she know? That sounds like a horrible allocation. I would never do that. She's stupid. And that's fine. Everyone has their own different strategies. I will say that I did get my bachelor's degree in international finance, so that counts for something. But like most people, I do not use my degree in my everyday career, so it's not something that I really practiced outside of just learning how to pass a test. How about I just save you 4 years of your life and tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt for tuition, and just tell you how you can learn some of the same stuff and figure out how to invest your own money. It would be really a joke if I didn't mention this first book, The Intelligent Investor. This, you always see it in top choices for reads on investing your money. This is what Warren Buffett recommends. This was his mentor. This is where he got a lot of his information. So if the best investor of all time thinks it's worth your time, I think you should read it. Also, I think it's really important that you keep your money in order to invest. If you're spending it on stupid junk, then you're not gonna have any money to invest at all. So The Millionaire Next Door is actually a fantastic read and helps you get in the right mindset. I really recommend it. This is one of the first books I read when I really wanted to get into investing, and it's incredible. Disclaimer, I really don't gravitate towards motivational speakers. I find them a little bit cheesy. That being said, Tony Robbins is kind of in that category. So if I'm gonna recommend his book, you know it's very difficult for me because I don't want to like him, but I do really, really, really like Unshakable. So it's not a long book, it won't take you a long time, but it just has incredible information. I have tons of stuff highlighted, and really this is where I decided in my Vanguard allocations and how I wanted to put my money in different places. And after reading this and being totally inspired, I read the much longer Money Master the Game, which goes into a lot more detail and really these really dive into what the masters do and where they put their money and how much of it goes where, kind of like what I just shared. And that's how I came up with my strategy and what I want to do. So I recommend all 4 of those books, but particularly this is how I was inspired, so I recommend those. If you've made it to this point and you're one of my 43 views, then thank you so much for watching. I hope it was beneficial. And like I said, I really like watching these types of videos on YouTube, so I hope someone else can find some inspiration and enjoyment out of it too. And hopefully, because I film this and post it, maybe I'll see some other female YouTubers posting their finance videos, because I think it's fascinating. It doesn't matter what your gender is. I think it's cool to watch. Thanks.